Today I'm at AMVETS Post 2006, a major sponsor of Central Florida Salute. And I want to introduce to you the commander here, Ronnie Mack. Ronnie, tell us a little bit about AMVETS 2006. Where are you located? And
we are at 500 North Canal Street, Leesburg, Florida. It's right off of 441, between 441 and Main Street on Canal. Can't miss us. And we're a veterans organization, along with, we have an auxiliary, and we have sons of veterans that are related some form or another to a veteran. And we do a lot for a lot of charitable donations and stuff to charities in the area and in the county, and we're a major sponsor to Central Florida Salute. We're proud of it. We're glad to be. You guys do a heck of a job, and we'll sponsor you as long as I'm here. We're going to sponsor you. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we do. Sue and I really appreciate it. We're a two-person operation, and what we try to do with education and supporting our veterans community, and you supporting us is major thing. It's major.
We're glad to do it, Bob. We're glad to do it.
And you have sons here, you have auxiliary here. You've got a website too if somebody wants to join.
Yep, it's don't punch into www. It's amvets-2006.org, and it'll take you right to our website, Facebook page, and all that's there, and you'll be able to find that. The webmaster, he tries to get the calendar on there every month, anything pertinent. There's a lot of other links on there for veterans to find out where to get help for certain claims and stuff like that. Our webmaster's really into that stuff. That's the guy you ought to be interviewing right there. So,
well, you know what,
he's got
Ronnie?
A lot of stuff.
You have a lot of clout. You tell him to talk to me, and we'll get him on the show. Okay?
I can do that.
All right. But I just want to, on behalf of Sue and myself, we want to thank AMVETS 2006 because you guys are the major players behind us, and we appreciate it.
But we just wish we could do more. We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and I have a full bird colonel retired, and a dear friend of mine who does a lot in the veterans community, Colonel Keith Oliver. Welcome to the show, sir.
Bob, mighty good to be here, brother.
I'll tell you.
Bob.
It's a pleasure. You and I go back for a while, for history. I met you. You were doing the daily commercial, writing articles for veterans.
Right.
And I was doing Lakefront TV. And it's a gentleman named James Floyd has a radio station. I always got to plug it, 1410 to Q, AM radio.
Station commander, James Floyd.
That's our station commander. And he said, well, let's put it together. We're going to get somebody that does TV. We're going to get somebody that does a newspaper, and we're going to have radio. And that's how the whole show started. It was you and I and James.
That's right.
And over the years, it's changed a little bit here and there. But James, is, to his credit, still tries to get the word out about the veterans and veterans community. And you, matter of fact, you were on there last week. And hopefully you'll come back and do some more with us. Well, every Friday from 12 to 1.
It was a joy to be back, I'll tell you that. And a couple other people that were early on part of the crew would be Rick Basinger.
Oh yeah,
Colonel, Florida National Guard.
And Theo Bob was there for a while too.
Indeed he was.
Now we got John O'Kelly, who's Navy.
Yes, John O'Kelly, Lieutenant, U.S. Navy. For those of you old enough to remember the television show China Beach.
That's
right. It was about an R&R spot in Vietnam. You know who was in charge of that thing? John O'Kelly.
That's right.
Not throughout the whole war, but for a period.
He was in charge of several of them.
Yep.
In fact, you know where you can find him? The same place where you're going to be, on Central Florida Salute YouTube. He's already on there.
Look out. Outstanding.
Yeah. And, we're going to talk about Colonel Keith Oliver. Sir, where are you from originally? And how did you wind up in the Marines?
Well, that's a great question.
Well, I hope I get a great answer.
Since so let me be courteous and answer that question. How I ended up in the Marines was going back to Jim and Marion Oliver. That would be my mom and dad, and they had me in Panama. Dad was an Army medic in Panama. And
so you were a military brat.
I was a military brat, not a regular brat, but a military brat.
Yeah.
And 2 of my brothers were also military brats, actually 4 of them.
Wow.
But 2 of them and myself, we were actually part of the fam when Dad was in the Army, when Dad was getting those emergency room calls and stuff, being a medic. He was always in the biz
that's
of
a great group of
medicine,
medics, yeah.
hospitals. In fact, Dad was the administrator of Hariana Crippled Children's Hospital back in the day.
Wow.
And it was just a joy to be around him and his concern for that slice of life. The doctors, the nurses, the supply folks, all of it. When you got a hospital, you got all of it. But that's the deal. So I'm born in Panama. 2 months later, my future wife was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Her dad was also a sergeant. He jumped out of airplanes. His name, Bob Holman. There he is, airborne.
Oh,
Sergeant
okay. I was
Holman.
wondering what that was all
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Because I know that's Army.
His unit about 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, was reactivated. Arctic Airborne. He jumped into Alaska back in the day. Back in the 50s, they're jumping into Alaska again because they're stationed in Alaska.
Would that picture there be your lovely wife?
This is my lovely wife, yes, sir.
Because she looks so much younger than you.
She is so much younger than me.
Now, you
as a
said you were
matter of
born about
fact.
the same
And,
time.
That's 2 months later, Linda came along. We might not have time in a 30-minute show, but sometime we'll have to tell you the story. We hadn't seen each other in 50 years when we saw each other again in 2016. And this is Linda on a cargo aircraft, U.S. Air Force C-41. She's on her way to Italy. And I'm there, I'm just not there. And they were so kind, the crew came back, the co-pilot came back, "Sir, we're getting ready to land. Would you like to be in the cockpit for the landing?" I said, "Well, please, let me defer to my wife." And she loved it.
Yeah.
And she came out of there after about 15 minutes, said, "Honey, they're babies. Our pilots are babies."
They don't want old people,
Oh, man alive. But so yeah, that's the deal. That's a long way around the horn of how I was.
That's a huge plane.
Yeah, and I wanted to be it is a huge plane, yes sir. But you can sleep in it. It's pretty doggone cool.
Well, I slept in one too. It was a KC-135. I was slept on the floor. Yeah.
But that's the short story of how how I came to be, and I wanted to be a Marine ever since I was a little kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Really?
But it's been a special joy to be around the military really all my life.
Yeah.
And all Linda's life too. In addition to her dad, we've got Uncle George, who was on the USS Midway in World War II. How cool is that? She's got a brother Joey, United States Navy, all about aviation. Even went to Embry-Riddle on the GI Bill. She got some sharp people in her family.
Maybe one day I'll get to meet her and she can tell us about that. But right now, I want to know more about Colonel Keith Oliver.
Okie dokie.
When you went into the Marine Corps, you finally decided to go into the Marine Corps right after high school, or what?
Yes, I did want to go in the Marine Corps.
But you did
right after high school. Billy Mosley and I were gonna go in together. He went ahead and went, and a guy named George Perkins, who was the publisher of the Eustis Lake Region News, said, "How about you stay around town for a year and be my full-time sports editor?" And he said the Marine Corps will still be there next year. And he told the truth. They were, and that's what I did.
Still there.
But that was the story. And what was really cool, just the Lord is just so good, so creative. such a loving, playful father sometimes, that I got to do in the Marine Corps for about 30 years what I did during that year in Eustis with the Lake Region News. And I also got to be on what was called WLCO back then. Had the privilege, thanks to another future father-in-law, Tom Comer, and we lost Ceres in 2008. Tom's one and only daughter. But Tom, coach, called me up and said, "Hey, listen, I've just got selected to coach the North All-Stars in the Florida High School All-Star Game. Why don't you come be my sports information director?" So I was hanging at the University of Florida for a week. We were all at Yon Hall where the athletes stayed. My roommate was the manager for the North All-Stars. That was his son, Tommy. And about 2 years later, Tommy was actually less than that. Tommy was the starting quarterback for the Eustis Panthers. Had to go in a state championship playoff game his sophomore year because our famous quarterback Robbie Ball, whose jersey number was retired, along with the late and great Stuart Cottrell. Am I going too fast? But anyway,
Well,
so we got some military in the fam.
I see you do. I see you do. So what year did you go in?
I went in 1972.
72.
But
I got out in 71.
And,
You went in
look out.
72.
Well, we overlap. But you are a Vietnam vet, and you guys trained us. You guys trained my generation. You impacted us.
Wait a minute.
In a good way.
Wait a minute. Your generation. How old are you?
I'm 71.
Well,
You used to be 71.
yeah, I used to, but I ain't that much older than you.
No, you're not.
So
No,
let's
you're not.
let's go. You went into the
Yeah,
Marine Corps,
yeah.
and what happened? You went to Paris Island, right?
I did go to Paris Island.
First,
Yes, sir.
Is that where you go first?
That's where I went first.
Okay, and then what did they decide that you were going to do?
They decided that I was going to be an auditing clerk, 3,400. But actually, I really wanted to be infantry, and if I couldn't be infantry, I wanted to be 4,300, public affairs.
Yeah, and that's where you wound
the numbers
up, right?
were reversed.
That's where you wound up. Weren't you like a public affairs?
I was. That is where I wound up. It is. It's a longer story. We won't waste it here.
No, I mean, because that's how I know you, because you've been a reporter for the newspaper. You know everybody about the history of this and that, and you've done a lot of great reporting. That's how I know you. So I'm interested. I saw a picture of you a long time ago because we had a conversation when I was on Lakefront TV. There was a picture of you overseas somewhere.
Right.
And, I was wondering about your deployments, and take me to after you got out of basic. Where did Keith Oliver go?
Well, one of the things Keith Oliver did was he kept trying to get into public affairs. So I'm sitting. My job has me sitting at a desk with a calculator, and anybody who knows me, especially my darling wife, would be laughing at that. That's not a good move. But Bob Jordan, my first officer boss, he's the guy right in the middle, sitting down at the table with the red
guy right
cap
there in
in
the
front
white
of him.
hat. With the
That's
red
right.
hat, yeah.
That's right. I think
And,
Sue wants you to show it to her.
Are you? Well, she's got it.
Okay.
But are you here?
I am. I'm
Oh,
over
right
there
there.
to the right.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah. I see
Yep.
you. You're over there on the
These
far
are,
right.
These are some of our troops at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob is a bit of a figure in the Marine Corps. He was in Vietnam also. Media escort, combat trained in terms of jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff. Seriously, he was a bodyguard guy as well as other things. He was also the public affairs officer when the building blew in Beirut on the most terrible day in Marine Corps history.
Barracks, right?
23 October 1983.
Yeah, I
Yes, sir.
remember that.
And So Bob visited us that particular day to give what we call a PME. It's called Primary Military Education, Professional Military Education. I've been out a few years now, retired myself in 2004, but yeah, that word finally came back to me. But yeah, that was a very special day to have Bob in, and they glommed on him. Everybody wanted his autograph, and we presented him with a K-bar, our standard Marine Corps fighting knife, and that was a special day.
Yeah.
He and his wife Evie.
So you eventually wound up doing what you wanted to do.
Oh yes, sir.
Public affairs.
Oh, it was a joy. It was a blast.
So where did public affairs? Obviously, you started out with as a lieutenant with public affairs, or how did that work?
Well, no. Started out as a lance corporal, E3. So did public affairs for about a year. I was on a 2-year enlistment, and so we got to, me and my buddies and I, Keith Mosier, Chuck Esser, fine Marines. We all made sergeant together, first corporal and then sergeant over a 2-year span. We went to 29 Palms, California, Mojave Desert, and had about 7,000 Marines out there with us, reserve and regular. That was pretty cool. And then we got to go to Turkey, and this was for an exercise, a NATO exercise. We had the Brits with us, the French, the Italians, the Turks. While we were over there, the Yom Kippur War started. This is the fall of 1973. We only thought we were coming home. We were out there for a little while longer, steaming the squares with the 6th Fleet. And meanwhile, they're down there in the print shop making up flyers to hand out to civilians at the embassy, which was in Tel Aviv at the time. Hey, get ready to load your suitcases in case things go bad with the war that's going on.
Get out of here.
Praise the Lord. Henry Kissinger was able to say, let's not be doing this. Let's knock this off. And of course, the Israelis were victorious, and we got to come on home. And but that was the deal with that. And Keith Mosier, best photographer the Marine Corps ever had. Some will argue about it, but Chuck Esser and I aren't going to argue about it. And he got some really, really good shots.
There's always somebody that wants to argue about something.
Yeah, sure.
That's the way it goes.
But that was the deal there.
So you left Turkey, then where'd you go?
I got out of the Marine Corps.
That was your 2-year enlistment?
Yes, sir. I got out of the Marine Corps.
But you didn't stay out, did you?
I did not stay out.
I know that.
I did not stay out.
Because you can't make a bird colonel in 2 years.
Well,
maybe you could, but most people couldn't.
I tell you what, I know of a general who made bird colonel in less than 2 years. He made bird colonel like that. Just one mistake. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
it does happen.
This story is
occasionally.
about Keith Oliver.
Yes, sir. Lake Sumter Community College.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you had
Lake Sumter Community College. That was my second time.
Mm-hmm.
I had the smarts at least to withdraw from all my classes before the date came when I would have flunked out instead.
Yeah, I have similar experiences. It was the 5th grade. I spent 2 years there.
Hey, if you're in a grade you like, why not hang around a while?
Yeah. Well, and they decided I should learn something, so I had to stay back.
Here's one of my favorite sidebars of all time. Bob Haynes, Chaplain Bob Haynes, who was our de facto chaplain. He was our official chaplain too, for WQBQ and for all the veteran activities that we've been involved in together with some really, really good guys. So I'm at Lake Sumter flunking out. He's at Lake Sumter. He just got back from Vietnam, and he's with a bunch of guys on the GI Bill, all branches of service. What are they doing different from what I'm doing? They're getting involved in student government. They're doing their homework. they're studying. They're friends with the professors. They're the only people around there that are their same age. But I was observing this. I said, man, this guy is AJ squared away. One day I'm going to be serious about college, but it's just not going to be today. And anyway, but that's what happened. I left Lake Sumter, and by then I was married to Ceres. And by the way, that was 2007. Forgive me, family, not 2008 when she died. Even more importantly, on the 28th of August, 1973, while we were dating, just before I took off for Turkey on the USS Mount Whitney, Ceres led me to Jesus Christ. I just didn't have much of an idea about that at all. And she led me to Christ, and I came back after being gone for about 3 months, and I'd been reading the Bible that she bought me and hanging with other Christians, including my boss at the TV studio on the ship. We had a closed circuit TV deal, so when we weren't doing war games, we had jobs on the ship, and that was my job.
Oh, that's an interesting job.
And had a lot of fun with that. But so Ceres and I get married when I got back, got out of the Marine Corps. We're at Lake Sumter. We have a little baby named Roxanne. And but the first time at Lake Sumter was Bob Haynes. And so when I go back, I'm trying to be more like Bob Haynes. And
that's impossible.
I made the Dean's List for the first time in my life. And anyway, but just you know, somebody's always watching you.
Yeah.
And so I was watching.
You
Bob
made the
Haynes.
Dean's List.
Yes, sir.
And you graduated.
Yes, sir.
Well, how did you get back in the Marines?
Well, then we went up to Asbury College to get that other 2 years. So I've got a bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
Credit there to Pastor John Brackman, who pastored First United Methodist in Eustis for many, many years. Also drove the team bus for the Eustis Panther football team.
I know that's big with you. It's just Panther football.
Yes,
team.
sir.
I know.
What a guy, though, was John Brackman, and we stayed in touch for many, many years. We lost him just a few years ago. Quite an impact player in our community of Eustis. But we go up to Asbury in Wilmore, Kentucky, and that's when Ceres allowed me to go back into the Marine Corps.
So you went back in. What rank were you when you went back in?
Well, I was an officer candidate and went to 2 summers of OCS, is one of the programs that we had, and then I was a second lieutenant at the end of the second summer.
Yeah, it became a 90-day wonder.
Something like that,
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of.
That's what the enlisted men were used to.
Right, understand.
Okay.
I take
so
your point.
now you're a second lieutenant, and where are you going?
Well, here's where the Marine Corps is different than the other services. I'm going to the basic school with 200 other second lieutenants. And before we cut loose our lieutenants to go to flight school, to go to law school, to go to whatever school to learn how to apply their specific trade that we're going to give them, we teach every one of them how to be an infantry officer. We teach every one of them how to lead a platoon. That takes 6 months. We're most of that time's out in the field. And we learn from Vietnam. You know, the life expectancy of a second lieutenant was not very high during Vietnam. And so there were times when the data systems guy was leading the platoon. When the engineer was leading the platoon, when Harvey Barnum, as an artillery officer, was leading an infantry platoon, because as soon as they hit the beach, the CO and the XO and the OPSO were all killed. He received the Medal of Honor for taking that platoon over and defeating the enemy. Wow. At any rate, so those are that's part of Marine Corps lore that is very, very important.
But you know that was the same in the Army too. I'm not an Army guy, but I know a lot of guys from the Army. And I think it was Bill Cosby did a routine many years ago. Something about being a medic.
Right.
He says,
he was a Navy medic.
And when you hit the beach, the first thing you did was scrape that cross off the top of your helmet. Because that's what the enemy looks for. They look for the medic. Because they know if they get the medic, he's not going to take care of the other guy. But, you know, it was kind of a funny skit, but it was kind of sad in a lot of ways. But it's true.
But I tell you what, though, every soldier loves his doc.
Oh yeah.
Loves his in the Marine Corps.
Your corpsman.
They're corpsmen.
Yeah.
United States Navy corpsmen. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a song that Homeland did. I interviewed them, and one of them guys was a corpsman, and I gotta give you a copy of that song. But anyway, so now you finished the schooling,
right?
And where are you off to now?
Now I'm off to Quantico and the Pentagon. My school's in Indiana, and they didn't have any open seats at the time. So about 6 months, I got to hang around Quantico and do some neat stuff, and was at headquarters Marine Corps, which was then not in the Pentagon, but up the hill at the Naval Annex. We were hanging in there with the Navy, with about half the Navy hierarchy. The other half had a place at the Pentagon. We didn't. That was General Chuck Krulak in 1995 that said, "Yo, we want a seat at that table."
We want a seat at the table. Yeah.
And now we've even got a seat at the table for the National Guard. As well we should.
Oh yeah, they do a lot nowadays.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And many have made the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
And we've got some real warriors there. So yeah, the DOD, the Pentagon has changed.
You've got to meet a lot of interesting people, because I see a picture you got over there. Are you with
yeah, you know that guy.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I want you to talk about that later, because you know.
Oh, okay.
This is up to date. This is pictures what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you knew his grandson.
Well, that's my story, not your story.
Okay.
We got to show that.
Okie dokie.
And who's the young kid?
The young kid is Oliver.
Yeah.
And the older elder warrior, his name is Schwarzkopf.
General Schwarzkopf.
And
yeah.
What a wonderful guy, a wonderful guy. And
I wish I could have met him. I never did.
I had just made Major, and man, he could chew some tail, but he loved the younger guys. He was so good to us.
He was a great general.
It was a neat opportunity. I actually, like you met his grandson.
I got to tell that story now,
Okay.
since you mentioned it. You know, I've been involved in the veterans community for over 40 years. For 40 years, really. Mm-hmm. And when I was up living in Connecticut and Oxford, I used to do the school program when I'd go talk to the kids. And the first few times I went there, they don't really know anything, because they don't bother to teach a lot of that stuff, military history. But my Legion post, we'd go up there, and we do a essay program, that kind of stuff. And I was talking to the kids. I had a couple of things I did. One of them, I'd have a picture of an airplane like this, and I'd go to the boys and say, what kind of plane is this? And on the back it'd say B-52, and they go, I don't know. And then I do like this, and I turn to the girls, and they've already seen the back of the. Oh, that's a B-52. So, well, these girls are smart here. But anyway, I was talking to the kids after several years. All of a sudden, you'd say something to them about the military, but nobody knew anything, But over the years, they seemed to get a little bit smarter. And I asked a question, and this one kid answered the question, and I was shocked. And I looked at him, I said, "How do you know so much?" He says, "My grandfather's General Schwarzkopf." I said, "Oh, okay. Now I know." So
you never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah, that's true.
When I was stationed in New Orleans, when I was a young lieutenant, and they made me the Toys for Tots officer. for the nation.
For the nation, wow.
Me and Staff Sergeant Bob Teeling. And what we were really doing was coordinating with all the instructor, what's the other I for? I have been out of the Marine Corps for a while. With all the staff that manages the affairs of the reserve force throughout the country. You got them in Detroit and Chicago and Miami and Tampa. And it's pretty neat. And so some of them really get into it and get pretty excited. Who's going to be our Toys for Tots mascot this year? You know, are we going to have Mickey Mouse or, you know, whatever? And anyway, so they sent me to thank NBC for all their support of the program that year. And I'm just walking down the hall and I see a guy carrying equipment with a ball cap that says the Commodores, and I said, you bought that? No, I'm with the Commodores. Where are they? They're down here in this studio, and that's where I saw my fellow Eustis Panther, Tommy McClary, number 23.
Oh, he's from Eustis, huh?
And a football player, thank you very much, from Eustis. Yes, sir. And it was so funny because I was Tommy's hero then because he's not the biggest guy. And they didn't believe him that he was a football player. That guy could tote the rock, let me tell you. And that was kind of cool to bump into him.
Yeah.
And you get to do that sometimes.
And you do, you know, and we've gotten to be good friends with a couple other Marines that are Colonel Rico Player, who does, he's now doing, what is it, that company he's got?
It's
Parade.com?
Paradedeck.com.
Yeah, and we also, thanks to you, I had a 2-star general here, David Kaufman.
Stretch Kaufman.
Yeah, he's from another local guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So you never know, like you say, you never know who you're going to meet.
Yep, you've met a bunch of them, man.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
So you were asking me about the shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Veterans United. United Veterans of Lake County, to be official. So Theo Bob.
There's another guy who's been on the radio with us.
Yes, he has. One of 4 founding members. There we are with President George Washington in the lower picture there.
He was a captain in the Army.
Absolutely.
Great guy.
Depending on what kind of mood he's in, he still is. Let me tell you. But he is one heck of a good guy. My brother in Christ. And he was a fellow captain, by the way, at Fort Stewart, Georgia, with a captain by the name of Petraeus, Petraeus.
I've heard that name.
And I tell you, you run into all these folks. It's amazing, and none of them are coincidences.
So you did a lot of like stuff in the Marine Corps, like you say, with Toys for Tots and articles and stuff. And how many countries did you go to?
Not near as many as my son-in-law, but that would be Chris. Hey, Chris, and Chris is the real deal, man. He saw his time under fire in Afghanistan and elsewhere. But so I went to maybe 10 or 12, maybe 15 at the most, but did not get over to Afghanistan.
You were probably getting out by then. I mean, you know.
No.
When did you get out?
You know, I got out in 2004, and but did have the privilege of serving in Iraq, and the extra privilege of serving with my nephew Michael Oliver. In fact, we got to spend about a week together in Baghdad. That was pretty doggone special. Did get to serve with Major Jordan, or just after he left, really, in Beirut, Lebanon, and got to go back to Panama. This time it was Operation Just Cause, or just at the close of Just Cause. Somalia, that was quite the experience, and some mighty good Marines over there. Brett Beard comes to mind, who distinguished himself during Desert Storm. And at any rate, already talked about Desert Storm, but few other side trips here, there, and yonder. Not near as many as the son-in-law Chris or my Marine Corps big brother Jim Deal. We'll have to get him on the show sometime. Better make it a two-parter.
Is he your real brother? Or?
No, Marine Corps issued him to me.
Oh, okay.
I was the oldest.
But you have several brothers.
I do. I've got Steve and Jimmy. We were at Fort Stewart, and then there's
now these
Don
they
and
served
Ken.
also, right?
Ken did United States Air Force, and Jimmy, United States Army, 82nd Airborne. And when he left, when he retired, he was Lieutenant Colonel Jim Oliver Jr., James C. Oliver Jr., and he was the commanding officer for the state of Florida recruiting.
Wow.
And man, he got the awards. He's got the jumps. He goes to the captain's course, they call it, the first professional training you go to after you're commissioned and so forth in the Army. And they have 3 big awards. They have the writing award. You got to learn how to write and write for the professional publications and write fitness reports, etc. The physical fitness award, you would expect that, and the honor man, who's the top graduate of all of it. He did all 3.
Wow.
He did all 3.
But I know you, and I know you got several brothers, right?
Yes,
How many
sir.
brothers you got?
How many which?
Brothers.
Brothers, 4 brothers, 1 sister.
No, of the brothers, a couple served, right?
Yes, sir. That was Ken Oliver, United States Air Force, man with a gun and a badge. He was security police.
Who's the one that does in the music now?
Oh, that's Steve.
Steve.
That's Steve. Yeah,
Haven't met him.
absolutely. I got a picture here somewhere. He'll wrap me upside the head if I hold that picture up. Luckily, it's over there at the table.
We don't
But,
want him wrapping.
Yeah, Steve is the smartest brother, prolific reader from the time he was a kid, and he also was a heck of a swimmer. Missed the Mid-Lakes Conference Championship just by a tag in the 1,500 meters
Yeah.
freestyle.
I've known you for quite a while now, and like I said, we were on the radio together. We started that thing, and that was about 6 years ago, I think. And I've been amazed with all the articles you've written in the newspaper about all these different veterans and their families and all this and that. And you are the guy, when I say I need somebody to get on my show, or can you tell me about this guy or that guy? Well, you know everybody around here. You're a great source for me, I'll tell you that much. You're a great source for me. And I appreciate everything you do. You were kind enough to get me into the Marine Corps Combat Correspondents Association as a affiliate member.
Yes, sir.
And I proudly have that plaque on my wall in my command post at home. It's a small command post, But yeah. But I've been amazed with you about all that you do for veterans and your career, and I'm glad you finally got on my show. We did one a long, long time ago, but I never could find that episode. So I'm glad you came back and to tell us. And actually, now you're talking about the Lake County thing, in which that wasn't happening back then. So we got some new stuff out there.
We do. Just a wonderful organization, black and white. We're Christian men, and now we have some ladies, and we're expanding too. Hispanic, Asian. The bottom line is, anytime you're the new kid at school, right?
Yeah.
You're the new guy. You're different. You're white. You're black.
Well, I got to tell you something, Colonel, and it's my audience. If you go on our YouTube, you're going to see all of that. Mm-hmm. You'll see a Tuskegee Airman.
Yep.
I did shows with Buffalo Soldiers. I did shows with a Japanese American who fought in World War II in the all-Asian outfit. They could only fight against the Germans. There's a lot of history out there.
Yes.
And what's made this country great is those Asian, those African Americans, white. It's all,
Yeah.
When you go in the military, I'll tell you, the first thing you do in the military, you realize you're not just with a group of white kids anymore. You got black kids, you got these other people from the other parts of the state, that, and it's like, you got to get along because you're all in this together.
That's right.
That's kind of what they try to do to explain to kids. I'll never forget going to the basic, and it's a whole new experience.
Whenever they do the long movie, and following a platoon from the time they raise the right hand to join till they get over to the battlefield and on, that boot camp scene is United Nations. It
is because for people who have never served, they'll find it hard to explain. How these people become your brothers. You're in the military. We're all brothers, whether you be a Marine, Air Force, Navy, whatever, and that's the one thing about the military, and I really appreciated it, although I only did 4 years, But
shoot, only did 4 years. You distinguish yourself.
No, I didn't.
And you've been.
But what I have done is 15 years of TV.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
But anyway,
continuing on.
This show is about Colonel Keith Oliver, and Colonel Keith Oliver, I think we're running out of time. If you have a message you want to send out, and how many years you say you did?
It was 28 years and 7 months, or to be honest, since people who know me will be seeing this, it might be 27 years and 8 months. I think it's 28 and 7. I'll have to look it up.
Well, close enough.
We're not on the air, right?
This will be on every. The whole world is going to know, because YouTube is all over. So they're going to see you in China. They're going to see you in England, whatever.
Yeah. Well, those who already know me know that I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That's just a fact.
But you are a special person, and I'm glad you're my friend. And friend, we need to say goodbye.
Okay.
I've been told that a Marine does not salute unless he has a cover.
Correct.
So I don't know what you're going to do. I don't have any. Do I have a hat over there? I got a hat over there. Can you give me that hat over there, my hat? I'm going to put a hat on your head.
Okay, fair enough.
And you know where I got this hat?
I don't.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I got this hat when I went to Tunnel for Towers, which is building homes and stuff for our military police and firemen, after. You got to have a cover, and that beautiful lady over there, Polly Haynes, let's wear this. You can only wear it. See that? Tunnel for Towers.
All right.
If you want to learn more about Tunnel for Towers, you go T2T. Oops. I know I got a big head.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, I knew you would be thinking it. Because I want you to be able to salute.
All right. Holy mackerel magnolia.
You can tell he's a Marine, right?
Oh, man. Yeah.
close enough.
Close enough. Okay. All right.
You're going to sit down or stand up?
Whatever you want me to do, sir. You're in charge.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll do it this way. Ready?
Okay.
To all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.